the rebels in the world stand up. If you're a rebel on the grind, you don't care what they mind.
Welcome to the Brave Podcast. I'm your host, Connie Jacob, and today I'm very excited to have Toni with me. She is an incredible realtor, but she also works in the realm of emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk a little bit today about how we can create more emotionally intelligent human beings in our world and in our homes. And I'm just so excited to start this conversation with her. Welcome, Toni.
Yeah, thanks, Connie. Thanks for inviting me, and I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. Me too. Tell us a little bit about your work as a realtor. What do you do? Just so the audience knows you a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I've been a real estate agent for coming up 15 years in Calgary, Alberta, and I do residential all the way from I'll do some of the towns up to like Cochrane, a little bit in Airdrie and some of the surrounding towns like Okotoks. But my main focus is residential in Calgary. And I started when I was pregnant, and my son is turning 15 this fall. So my anniversary and his birthday, it always is a very reflective time of year for me because this is all he knows. His mom is a realtor.
Wow, which is great because being a realtor takes an incredible amount of time and energy.
Yes. Yeah, it has evolved and changed through even my own stages of life. From being a new mom to having a teenager, my career has really flowed well with the different stages and reflected differently. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to be a realtor, for all these years because it's allowed me to go to a lot of his school plays and field trips, sick days, appointments, summer break. I can try and plan as much as I can. I'm still working, but it's nice that I have that flexibility, and I think that's allowed me to, be a realtor and also be present in his life the best I can.
That actually makes me think I would love to ask you because a lot of the people who listen to this podcast, not only are they interested in relational wellness and in all kinds of things around parenting or teaching, but around making a difference with our lives. And one thing I hear a lot from moms is, how do I be a mom and live out my passions? Or maybe I want to start my entrepreneurial journey, but I don't even know how that's going to look. Could you speak to that before we dive into our topic today?
I could relate. When I started, this was my first career, and I didn't know a lot of people in Calgary. So, I had to hit the ground running and do hard things. Door knocking, and I would hand out banana bread and at the mall, different stores with the typical realtor recipe cards because I had seen realtors hand out recipes. So I tried to do, creative things that would help me get out of my comfort zone. And my motto really, not necessarily consciously, was sink or swim. And I've been a single mom pretty well most of this time in my career. So there's been times where, I've had to learn how to allow myself to still be present when there's a lot of like chaos going on in real estate, because with any entrepreneurial path, there's always ups and downs. There's lots going on behind the scene personally and internally where you really need to draw on something. You need some internal resources to keep you resilient and build up your capacity for resilience. Then there's parenting. For me, I've had a really good example in my life with my dad is an emotional intelligence coach, and that's where I've gotten a lot of mentorship from him and training. And he's been my biggest consistent coach and mentor throughout my life. But it was because I watched him do things a certain way. So it wasn't so much him always telling me, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. It wasn't about advice. It was really, in the big picture, it was mirroring of somebody that I respect. Kind of tying all that back to your question is, I think if somebody's just getting started or in, in the middle of some sort of endeavor, I think you just really need to be very clear on your priority in how you are showing up for your children, because they watch, and at the end of the day, the time flies, and you still need to build a career, you still need to build your life, but you don't want to miss all these moments along the way. So, I think you just have to have that internal commitment to that being an important part of building your business. Is your business should be a reflection of who you are as a person. Yeah.
That's so good. I
That's
identify so much with that. It's true. It goes by so fast when they're little, you feel
yeah.
like the days will never end. And then all of a sudden they get to be 15, or my oldest son's turning 18, and the relationship shifts, and I'm so happy, like yourself, that I
Mhm.
made business about how do I work around them rather than going full force, because now they don't even know when I'm gone. They don't even know when I've left the house. Oh, you were out? Like, because they become so independent.
Hey,
That's
yeah.
wisdom. That's so much wisdom. And your dad is incredible. He is my executive coach, and I absolutely have learned so much from him for business, but just life. And so let's talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. How did you, so you mentioned that you've discovered emotional intelligence from your dad, but like, how do you feel this is important for a person?
I know there's the words emotional intelligence, just like there's EQ and IQ. As we've put the right words to it, emotional intelligence, it's really maybe packages a whole array of skill sets that are around building your capacity to handle hard things. And, what's the point of being very successful, or life is full of challenges, regardless of what type of career you're in. You could be the best parent in the world. You could have had the best parents in the world, the ideal marriage. It doesn't matter. There will always be challenges along the way. And these challenges can make or break you. And without the right tools and mindset, you could be swept away by something very small, right? If your capacity to handle something difficult is low, you're not going to get very far in one of these areas, right? It's not just, there's business, there's family, there's finances, spiritual, like there's different categories that I think we put focus on. And ideally, it'd be nice to be able to have balance and flow in all of the things that make us who we are. So I think with emotional intelligence, it allows us to really thrive and be curious in each of these different areas of our life and pieces of who we are and what makes us ourselves. Because emotional intelligence is just your ability to be self-aware and self-reflect. And I recognize this in a lot of entrepreneurs, is that, and especially realtors, because that's my life. I know a lot of realtors. We're a very resilient bunch because we're always having to fly by the seat of our pants, recover quick from, setbacks, and then keep going. And so, learning to reflect in these hard things, recover quicker, allows you to keep going. And that just spills over into every category. So, how you do one thing is typically how you do everything, right?
Yeah. I can't think of one person listening that doesn't want these skills. And so for you, when you think about the emotional intelligence and the capacity to be resilient and to move forward and overcome hard things, what has been one aspect of this world that has helped you the most?
It just really allowed me, like, the skill of, and just learning how to like look at myself first as a, because it's very easy to get caught in blaming and being a victim and dismissing and avoiding seeing the truth, right? It's it's really hard to take responsibility sometimes. It's so much easier and common to find excuses, very perfectly legitimate excuses, right? But if you constantly blame and not willing to look at your own self, you're not going to have very strong relationships. People may start to avoid getting deeper with you just in conversations and relationships, friendships, even affecting how you build trust with clients. Because I think people really crave connection. And, we've just gone through a whole adjustment in our world where isolating seems to be more and more common, that we're learning now to step out. I think people realize that we actually thrive in connection opposed to isolation, right? And so much of our world is shame based. Is okay, I didn't do as well here, I'm going to hide. Shame. So if you're not able to put the words to yourself and how you feel first, you may not realize this at first, but you start to lose, you almost become a bit numb as a person and kind of hang out in a more of a shallow space. And I mean, I think, like people attract like. You and I are similar in a lot of ways, and we can have, we can just go for coffee and have a great conversation. And I have other people that it's really hard to have a conversation. It's like, you can only talk about things like the weather and even the market, right? The weather and the market tend to be things people are safe topics and they're relevant. However, you can't get to know somebody deeper really than that, right? With just those topics. However, learning to reflect on yourself, it really opens up this whole world of connection. And I brought this is my special mug that I made. And this is Self-Regulate Babe. And I don't know, I get these crazy ideas and I go on Canva and I have fun. Then I know I'm in a good space because I'm being creative. Through the years, I've consistently, tried my best to get up early, to journal, read, reflect, and like that's where I do my personal growing. When I have those mornings or moments when I can do that, it just changes everything. It just allows me to just, it's not about everyone else anymore. It's about opening up my own emotions and getting to know myself, because if you don't know who you are, it's really hard to connect with people. And I know this may sound deep, I'm a realtor. I don't need to be, people's therapist. I don't need to know, those deep reasons that they're selling. However, I think it makes a difference in my ability to how I can show up for my clients, because I could be wearing a whole bag of like rocks, like my baggage of things that didn't go the way I wanted, things that I have to get through, things I have to carry. And if I showed up to every appointment, like Eeyore, they're not going to enjoy being around me. You can't have conversations, and conversations is really how you build trust. It's like you connect and trust forms. And so it's, all behind the scenes of yourself that's where you really grow your capacity to have conversations with people, get to know people, because when you're shut down and you're not kind of in this whole brain state, I mean, you know what it's like to be around people like that, or if you can recognize when you're in that state, it's really hard to be creative, resourceful, and parent, right? Like you gotta continuously, it's like filtering out your heart.
Filtering out your heart. I think that is so crucial. And I love everything that you're saying here about really owning ourselves, managing ourselves, starting with ourselves and figuring out that self-reflection and not having to do it perfect. I like how you put it on mugs. That's really brilliant. Just figure out a way, self-regulate, babe. Oh, right. Because I think that we get into patterns as adults where we just have,
Mhm.
like you said, we're on road, we're just going through the motions. And so I feel like this emotional intelligence, this self-reflection, this owning ourselves, it impacts our businesses, it impacts our homes, it impacts our personal lives, our relationships, it impacts everything. And so what would you
Mhm.
say to someone who's listening who wants to be in this place of owning themselves, managing themselves more, becoming a little bit more emotionally intelligent? What's a good starting place for them?
Mhm. Well, the word that comes to me is just get curious. Is, you can't get very far in life without curiosity. And, curiosity is a very powerful word. And even Dr. Carolyn Leaf, I listened to her, a lot of her research, and she was sharing how the word curiosity, it taps into a subconscious part of your brain. So if you say to yourself, what my I'm curious how I'm feeling right now. Just a simple question, and you just, give some space. The brain has to answer that. It just it just does. It's an interesting word. It's the way, we are all curiosity based. I mean, all innovation, business, everything really stems from curiosity. Is, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder how this is going to turn out.
Mm.
Opposed to what's wrong with me? I can't do anything right. This is not going to work. Why did I do it that way? Because, as soon as you start shaming yourself, or, if you're using words that are not curiosity based, just notice you're not going to get very far. And it's not very productive to the situation if you don't apply some curiosity, because with curiosity, then you can actually start being a bit more compassionate and to yourself, right? Because when you shut down and let's say you're going through a frustrating situation with your business, it's not going the way you want it to go, and you kind of get stuck in that negative self-talk, or you catch yourself, you say, okay, I'm noticing, I'm aware, I'm not in a good place, I'm aware, okay, maybe I'm tired. Like, just start noticing how you feel, and then practice using the word curiosity. Be curious. I think that's a good starting place because it's very simple. Like, let your thoughts move forward, and that a lot of it is just listening to yourself, listening and noticing.
So good and so doable. And I think that's a
Mhm.
great action step for anyone listening. Just get curious. Start with curiosity and see what happens. It's doable for us
Mhm.
all. And so I just want to thank you
Yeah.
so much, Toni, for being on the podcast and giving all the listeners, whether you're an educator, whether you're a parent, whether you're a woman, a leader, doesn't matter. What Toni shared today is applicable for life. And so I just want to encourage everyone to keep being brave, to own yourself, to keep looking inside. And can't wait this fall, going to be launching the Women's Dream Launch Academy. And Toni, this conversation, I think, is really crucial for any woman who has a dream to make a difference, whether that means writing a book or starting a business, it doesn't matter. This is where we start. And I think that you mentioned Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she has an incredible resource called the Neurocycle app, which I use on a very regular basis to give me a little
Really.
bit of guidance, because sometimes my curiosity leads me down a few rabbit holes, but she's got this process down to a science, and this neurocycle has really helped me. And so if anyone wanted to check that out, it's an app. You can look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. But Toni, what's the best way for people to find out more about you if they're looking?
Well, right now, I think I'm most active on Instagram. Um, I it's at Sold by Toni, Toni. And, I share real estate, but I also I have a link on my bio as well where you can book an EQ session with me. Also on Emotional Wealth Management Inc. So that's the company. My dad is Dietrich Demaray, and he's the founder of that, and I'm one of his coaches now too. There's resources on our website there, which is ewminc.ca. And there's a course as well that's going to be launched soon on learning about it's an intro to emotional intelligence that he puts out. So definitely check. You can find me on Instagram, and once that website is relaunched, you'll see all the goodies on there.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to
Yeah.
put those in the show notes as well. And just want to say thank you so much again, Toni, for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for the invitation. This was something I've been looking forward to, and I just wanted to let you know you're such a light and an inspiration, and just keep dancing.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. And everyone else, you keep being brave.
All the rebels in the world stand up.